Welcome back to the Morning Juice. I'm your host, Juice. Today we are going to have Sydney come on to our show. She is going to talk about her road to recovery and what she is doing today. So, with that being said, let's welcome in Sydney. Hi, Sydney.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So tell everybody who you are, where you work at, what you do.
I'm Sydney. I work in recovery. I'm at Recovery Unplugged, and I'm currently a tech there.
Nice. And what was your drug of choice?
I struggled with alcohol.
Okay. All right, Sydney, go ahead and tell me your story.
Okay, I guess starting from the beginning, I thought my family life was pretty normal, but it turns out it wasn't. My parents got divorced when I was 2, and I don't remember much of it, but I do remember how confused I was the first night that I stayed with my dad at his new house, and my mom wasn't there. But, I mean, it took time, and that became normal to me. Both my parents ended up remarrying, and my mom ended up having my other sibling, and I brought in an older brother on my dad's side and then 2 sisters on my mom's side, so there were 5 of us. And then I guess just growing up, I was busy with sports all the time.
What sports did you play?
I played softball.
Nice.
I guess when I was younger, I played softball, basketball, and volleyball. But yeah, just growing up was always really busy, and then I guess being back and forth from like my mom's house to my dad's house, that was pretty stressful as a young kid.
Okay,
but...
coming from a divorce house, how was y'all set up? Because, like, I came from a divorce house too. So, like, in the beginning, my dad had me on the weekends, had me and my brother on the weekends. And then when he moved to Illinois, he had us the whole summer.
Mm-hmm.
So, how was your setup?
So, where my mom lived, I was closer to school. So, I would go to my dad's house once a week, like during the actual week, and then it was every other weekend. But, like, if I had games and everything, like, he was always at the games.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I wasn't seeing him a lot.
Right.
So, yeah, it felt pretty normal. Me and my stepmom didn't have the best relationship at all.
Feel that. I feel it. I mean, I talk about my stepmom a lot. Me and her are great now.
Yeah.
Like, as far as a supporter now, absolutely anything I post on Facebook about mental health, she's blasting it. Every podcast, anything I post mental health. Like, so, like, in the last 2 years since I found recovery, there's a peace there.
Mm-hmm.
So have you found peace with your stepmom, or is it still a little rocky?
So I guess going on a little bit, I was a freshman in high school, and like, yeah, no, our relationship the entire time was terrible. We just like argued all the time. She blamed me for everything.
Right.
And she would say that my relationship with my dad, we were too close. I needed to give him space. And I think a lot of it was like jealousy from like, I guess, me and my dad's relationship. I don't really know. But she would do a lot of things like behind like my mom's back, and like she would cut my hair and like I wouldn't even ask for it. And I know,
Wow.
yeah. And I was like super young, and she dyed my hair dark brown. And
How'd your mom feel about that?
she was livid. It was terrible. And I would always, like, if I was at my dad's house the weekend and like something like that had happened, I was so nervous to go back to my mom's because like I didn't want to tell her, but obviously she was gonna know.
So was the co-parenting situation really bad?
My mom and my stepmom did not get along like
Same.
at all. That was bad.
Actually, it was all 4 of mom, but it was like my dad hated my stepdad, vice versa. My mom,
Yeah.
my stepmom hated each other. Even though like my mom and my dad and my stepmom all have a good relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was not good between my mom and my stepmom, just because of all those reasons. And like my stepmom, it was every single weekend like something would come up and she would blame me for it, and it was like her and my dad would be arguing, but somehow it was my fault, and like she would smack me like across the face, like extremely hard.
Right.
But she would always tell me like, you better not tell your dad or your mom.
Yeah, because she knows that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and so I was like terrified, so I would never say anything. And I guess, yeah. So my freshman year of high school, I heard my dad and my stepmom arguing like really loud, and I just kind of stayed in my room because I was scared. It was louder than it had normally ever been.
Right.
And so it was like a few hours, and after that, my dad had asked me and my stepbrother to come downstairs, and they sat us down, and that's when they said that they were going to get a divorce. And I remember like the first question I had asked was if I was going to be able to see my brother still. I didn't care about her, like, at all.
Right.
Like, I was like, honestly, like, this is what I've been praying for, like, some
Right.
solution. And I guess that's how it was. But I mean, I was still like really sad, and I didn't know because she had been in my life since I was like 4.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm a freshman. I was like 14, so that's like 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, I just remember asking, I was like, am I going to be able to see Chase again? And they were like, of course. And my stepmom, she was like, I'm still going to be in your life. I'm here for you whenever, like, all this stuff. And come to find out, like, no, she never was at all. So it was like, I don't know, it was weird losing that. It was like a parent that had been in my life for a long time, but
Yeah.
just totally, like,
Just jetted.
yeah, out of there. And so after that, my dad was in a really, really bad place. And it was only him at the house, like, when I wasn't there. And so I would come over, and I could tell, like, my dad was not doing well. He lost a bunch of weight and just looked sick. I would, like, make dinner with him and, like, just try to make the most out of it. But there was always, like, something going on. And then I remember I went on a vacation in Florida. It was Thanksgiving. And my dad called me. I was with my mom, but my dad called me, and he was like, I just want to tell you this and, like, keep you in the loop, but, like, I found out that Lisa, my stepmom, she was cheating on my dad for a really long time in their marriage. And it was actually my stepbrother who told him, her son. And yeah, he said that she took him over to this guy's house, and he was like, my brother, he was like, I'm not staying here. Like, this is messed up.
Yeah.
He instantly called his dad to come pick him up, called my dad, and told him, like, everything that was happening. And I think, like, the most messed up part about all of it is that we went on a vacation, like, a few months before, and that guy was on vacation with us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was...
Oh, now looking back, that's kind of...
Yeah, it was like... So I wonder how long that had actually been going on. But yeah, that broke my dad, because he... Of course, he just, like, thought, like, what did I do wrong?
Right.
And he blamed himself for everything, and I think he still has a bad problem with that about, like, you know, the stuff that happened with me and going to rehab and everything.
Right.
He's like, what could I have done better? And I, like, just try to tell him, like, it wasn't you.
Yeah,
didn't, like,
this is
go
not
wrong.
your garbage. This is my garbage.
Yeah, and I have a lot more things going on in my mind than any of that. So that took a long time. My freshman year was pretty bad. I'm so thankful that my cousin was a senior when I was a freshman, because she was at school. She knew what was going on, and we both played softball. So, like, every single day I would just always, like, find her, and, like, if it was a bad day, I would just talk to her and, like, go sit with her at lunch. And I, like, couldn't eat then because my anxiety was so bad, and she was, like, always making sure that I was, like, trying to eat, especially if we had a game.
Right. Don't want you passing out on the field.
Yeah. But I think one of, like, the hardest days, and I guess it, like, happened multiple times, but I would be at school, and I hadn't heard from my dad yet, and, like, I knew the place that he was in mentally, and I would start freaking out that he had done something to himself.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, something happened, and I would call him and call him and call him, and he wouldn't answer. And, like, he gets to work super early, so I knew he should be at work.
Right.
And so I called my dad's best friend. He's, like, my uncle. And I was like, has my dad shown up to work? Because my dad is, like, the boss of this company. And I was like, has my dad shown up yet? And he was like, not yet. And it instantly just would, like, send me into, like,
anxiety,
these crazy
panic.
thoughts. Yeah. And this happened, like, multiple times. And I kept just thinking, I was like, I should not be a 14, 15-year-old, like, at school worrying about this stuff. Like, freaking out if my dad's still alive. And, but yeah, I mean, he showed up. He would be late to work, and I get it now, especially from everything that like I've gone through.
Right.
I do get it, like, and so yeah. But we got over that. My dad started dating here and there, and I got to meet some people, but
Interesting people.
yeah. But he was trying, and
He was like, Dad, no.
yeah, there were a few. those like, this
Dad,
can't
I don't
happen.
think about that one.
But yeah, it got a lot better. He met, which now is my stepmom, but he met this girl, Julie, and I went and had dinner with them, and I really enjoyed her, and she like came on a vacation with us, and I was like, I do think that this is a good fit for my dad. And then yeah, he proposed to her. They're married, still married. I think it has been hard for me to open up to like another stepmom for sure.
Yeah.
Because I have trauma around that.
Right. So she got bad trauma for no, it's not even her fault, but from the first stepmom. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And I think that has like hindered our relationship a little bit, but I do try, but it's like still hard for me to let someone else in, to not necessarily be a parent, but in like that parent
right
position, I guess. But yeah, I think
How long have they been married now?
Maybe 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. I can't honestly remember, but
long enough. Yeah.
They've been together for a while. Yeah, I mean, it's good. We still struggle with that a little bit.
Does she understand though, because of the past?
I think so. I think it's a little bit hard for her to understand.
Yeah.
And just like from like had the age that I was, it's like, I don't want to start this whole new relationship over again. Yeah, so they got married and everything. I feel like that was around like my junior year of high school. And so everything was going well. I ended up committing to MTSU to play softball.
Nice.
Yeah, which was a little nerve-wracking, but so that year that I committed, I was a senior in high school. I ended up meeting a guy that was there at my school, whatever. We started dating. It was my first boyfriend I had ever had. But then I was gonna up and leave that year too. So it was like, I don't really know how this is gonna go.
So you was a good softball player. You was
sure.
good.
I mean, I wasn't bad. But yeah, I went to MTSU, and the summer before, I guess, like our season started, I tore my labrum. And so, I guess I like jumped a little bit ahead. That was my senior year of high school. So I couldn't finish my senior year of softball at high school, which sucked. But I still somehow got MVP.
Nice.
And that was pretty cool. But yeah, I got the surgery, and that whole summer I was out. But I think it was like a blessing in disguise, because I was going to go play softball in California for the summer, and I was going to live out there. And I was like, I don't think that's the best idea for me, but it's what my college coaches wanted. So I didn't have to do that. And it was my first summer that I actually got to have a summer instead of playing. And yeah, that was probably not the best thing for me, but I mean, I had a great time, and I got a taste of what it's like to not be so busy with softball.
Yeah.
But yeah, then I went into my freshman year of college, and I still had my shoulder stuff going on, so I wasn't cleared yet to play. So a bunch of my stuff was like the rehab and therapy and all that. But it was very mentally like tough on me. Especially coming like right when I did get cleared. I wasn't the same player I was before I got hurt at all. And going into college, it's so different than playing travel ball.
Yeah.
And everything. Like, the coaches really don't care what you think or how you feel. They can be very rude. But I had coaches that were very degrading, and they talked about females in a way that they shouldn't talk about females, like calling girls fat asses.
Really?
Yeah, and just all that stuff. So I got in this is like the first time I had ever had anxiety as bad as I did, but I was like throwing up every single day from my anxiety, and I couldn't eat. I dreaded going to softball, and it was just terrible. I got down to 112 pounds.
Wow.
So I was like, looked sick. My parents were like, your face literally looks like it's sinking in.
Right. Your eyes are caving in. Like, what's going on?
And I mean, I told him, I was like, it's just my anxiety. Like, I can't do this right now. And my coaches tried to get me a therapist at school. And so I went to this therapist once, like my coaches made me go, and I told her like everything I was struggling with. And I talked about softball and like how draining and like mentally challenging it's been. And she pretty much just questioned, she was like, why do you let a sport affect you that much? And I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, I put my entire life to get here.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I've worked for.
Yeah.
It's not just like a sport.
Right. It's you wanted to be somebody in that sport. Yeah.
And so I never went back to see her. Like, I was like, this is not going to help me whatsoever. And so I get still in my freshman year, still struggling. My dad called me. I didn't have a lot of free time, but my dad called me and he was like, hey, can we get lunch? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I found like time to go and have lunch with him. And he told me that my stepmom was pregnant with twins. And being a freshman in college, I was like, no, I'm not about to have 2 younger siblings. It's not happening. And I was really, really mean about it. And I was like, those aren't going to be my siblings. Like, just things I shouldn't have said.
Right.
I was only thinking about myself.
Right. And your anxiety was already at a breaking point. So he just kind of just...
And I was like, Dad, you just sent, like, me to college and you're about to have newborns and 2 of them? Like, that's crazy. And, yeah, so I was really upset about that for a long time. And my stepmom ended up having a miscarriage with him. And, yeah, I lost both the babies. And she was pretty far along. But something we don't really talk about at all. Like, we just kind of skip over.
It's like it happened. Let's not even... Yeah. We don't even want to talk about that trauma that probably needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. Especially for my stepmom. Like,
yeah, definitely.
Feel terrible in that sense. But, yeah, so that was just something to add on to everything that was going on. COVID ended up happening at the end of our season. So we got shut down. Well, they shut us down for 2 weeks, but our coaches didn't let us leave campus or anything. And then after those 2 weeks, they were like, okay, we're still shut down. You can go home. But they were like, if you travel anywhere, like, you have to let us know, whatever. And my parents had a beach house in Florida. So I was like, I'm going to go there. If we're just, like, going to sit and wait, like, I'm going to go to the beach house. So I ended up staying there for, like, a month. And, I mean, really all I did was hang out with my friends that, like, came. We drank and didn't do anything else.
Right,
like, that was it. Like, I didn't have a job or anything. But then, yeah, I stayed there for, like, a month.
Is that when the drinking started bad at that point, or has it?
Not then. No, I was still, like, just drinking normally. I mean, when I
like
drink,
I
drink, but
right, like a normal college kid.
I wouldn't drink and then have to drink the next day again.
Right.
But then, so that ended after, like, a month. I came home and COVID was still, like, crazy, but I ended up getting a job, and, like, with softball and everything, I'd never had a job before, which was crazy because I was, like, 19.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I started working at a golf course as a bev cart girl, and I worked at the outside bar. And I had so much fun. And, like, still, my drinking was, like, totally normal. Like, I would go out on the weekends, and that was, like, about it. Or, like, we would go out on the lake, like, one day, and I would, like, drink there, but it was never, like, a problem.
It wasn't out of control yet.
No. And so I ended up meeting another guy. He played baseball at MTSU, and we ended up dating. And I, like, from the beginning, our relationship, it was really good. And, like, we were right next to each other, so we would see each other every single day.
Right.
And, like, just hanging out, and, like, everything was going good. And we ended up dating for 4 years. But, like, throughout that relationship, it got bad, like, pretty toxic, and, like, arguing about stupid stuff. And when we would drink every single night, there would be an argument. And it was, like, the lack of trust. Like, he always would think I was cheating.
Right.
And I gave no reason for him to think that. But it was just, like, I fell asleep one night and woke up, and he had, like, gone through my entire phone. And, like, through my DMs of, like, years and years before I even knew him. And, like, just to find something that he could get mad at.
Right.
And I should have known then, like, how toxic that was.
Like, sir, you're a narcissist.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, you're a narcissist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it like made me be crazy because I was like, well, let me go through your phone.
Right.
And I'm
Now,
gonna
now
look
we're
at
now we're gonna
everything.
play this game.
Yeah, and it like other people could notice like when we would drink, like the arguments and stuff. But yeah, I think it lasted for far too long, but I don't regret it. I guess I learned
Right.
a lot of stuff from it. But
Taught you what you don't want.
yeah, that is true. It did. But I guess it was around like 3 years of dating. I had really noticed that I was drinking a lot more.
So what would this put you, like 22?
No, I was like 20, 21.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was like 21. Yeah. But yeah, it was like we would find something. I guess like, okay, Tuesday we would go bowling, and then everyone would drink. And then on Thursday, we're like, okay, well, we're going to drink again on Thursday because it's basically the weekend. And then it was Friday and Saturday. And so that's like pretty much every single day of the week. But it was not like it was the same thing. Like I would drink that night, but be totally fine the next day. There was never like a craving for alcohol.
Right, you didn't have the shakes.
Yeah.
Where, like you had to have a shot or something.
Yeah, no, it was just like we all were in college partying, and like that's just what it was. I don't honestly know exactly like what the turning point was, but I think it was knowing that like I wasn't happy in the relationship and me feeling guilty about things he accused me of when they weren't true.
Right.
Like the cheating and like lying and stuff. And it had caused me so much anxiety, but I knew that like every time I was having that anxiety, but if we would go out and I would drink, the anxiety was gone.
Yeah.
And I stopped worrying and I would have a great time. And so I was like, I don't know, it was just like something turned in my head, but I was like, I have fun when I'm drinking and I don't worry when I'm drinking, so I'm gonna drink.
That became your coping skill for anxiety.
So I was like, I'm gonna drink when I get anxious.
Yeah.
And so that was the first time, and it lasted a long time, but I never ever would have thought that I would be someone that had a drink every single day. And it got to that point, and we were still dating, but I mean, I was lying like crazy about my drinking, lying about what I was doing because I was trying to be sneaky to drink wherever, or I would find anything just to go drink. Like I was like, let's go to this restaurant, but just so we could drink. Like that's all I cared about.
Right.
And
so you was hiding your drinking from him at the time too,
as much as I was doing.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I would drink in front of him, but he didn't know how much I was drinking before that.
Right. He didn't know you was already lit before you
yeah.
even...
And I mean, I could contain myself pretty well. Yeah, so I did that for a while, and then it became pretty unmanageable, and I was going home, and like he was still playing baseball, so like he would be gone, and then I would just like go home, and I was like drinking at home, and then he would come back, and I was like still drinking, and then he ended up saying something to me, and he was like, why are you drinking so much? And I like took big offense to that.
Oh, of course you did.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not, like, what are you talking
right
about? Like, I'm just drinking as much as you are. And I honestly, it got like very blurry at the end of that, but I do remember he had called my parents one night that I was like drinking really bad, and so my dad was like, I'm gonna come, like I'm picking her up, whatever. And I was so mad because I was like, you're doing this all behind my back, and like I would never do this to you.
Right. The like, blame game started.
Yeah. And finally, like I realized like he wanted what was best for me.
Right.
And like trying to help, and I get like he couldn't handle
me.
But
your addiction was so strong at that point that you didn't care.
Yeah. And so they ended up taking me to my mom's house. My dad was over there, everything. And I mean, they took away like the alcohol, like anything that I had with me, but pretty much they were like, you're just gonna stay here for a little bit. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I, of course, find a way to get alcohol.
Of course.
Yeah. And it continued. I was still trying to hide it though. But yeah, my drinking never stopped. And
so you never stopped at all while you was at your mom's house?
Not until like a little bit later.
Right.
Yeah. No, I was like stealing stuff from downstairs, but then they like caught on and they were like, you're still drinking. So one night I was up in my room. I had been drinking all day and everything, but I locked my door, and This story's so embarrassing, but I had like bottles next to my bed and everything, and I was already like messed up. But I leaned over to grab the bottle and I flipped out of my bed and I hit the dresser really loud. And of course, like I hit my head so hard and like, oh, it was just a mess. But of course, my parents heard it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, she just
Yeah,
wiped out.
something's wrong up there. So they like ran up there and I had the door locked, and um my mom, she was like screaming at me to unlock the door, and I was freaking out, like I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, because you had all these bottles.
Yeah, and so I unlocked the door, but like right when I unlocked it, she was pulling on it, and she pulled on it and it hit her in the face and it busted her lip and everything. And that was like something I felt like I just like hit my mom.
Right.
And like she was crying, I was crying. She like took me by my hair and dragged me down the stairs. Yeah, she was livid, and she ended up calling my dad. And like this is like I was so out there, like drunk, gone,
drunk, maybe a concussion from the dresser.
Yeah, like my head was pounding, and like from the stairs, like I swear every single step, like I was hitting my head on the stairs. And so I get down there, and it was like so much of a blur, but I like woke up and somehow my dad was already there, and I was so mad at them because I was like, they're making me stop drinking. Like I can't drink right now.
This is going to be an intervention.
Yeah. And it's like the middle of the night. I knew I wasn't going to be able to fall back asleep unless I had more alcohol. And there was a point that like I was yelling back at them, and my dad started recording me while I was doing it. And that just like set me off. And so I like smacked the phone out of his hand and all this stuff. I like went crazy. But all they were trying to do is like get me to sit down, and I wouldn't sit. I was just after every single person.
Yeah.
And my dad ended up like taking me, not like by the throat, but like put his hands like on me, and he like pushed me down like on the thing, and it scared me, like absolutely terrified me.
Because Dad's never done that like that before, so now you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was like, I just had no idea what was going on. But somehow I ended up falling asleep for a little bit. And
it scared you to sleep.
Yeah. I woke up and I was like, great, like I'm about to have to deal with this all day.
Yeah, I messed up last night.
Yeah. So it was like for a few days it was just all of like my guilt, and I was like crying every single day and trying to apologize, and like I don't know, like I was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed for my boyfriend because he like kind of knew everything that was going on.
Right.
I was sober, and I ended up staying sober for about, like in my head I was like, I know I won't be sober for the rest of my life, but I like went through detox and everything, and I was feeling great. Like I felt good without drinking. I was like able to start laughing again, like hanging out around people and not being able to drink and stuff. And I got to about like a month and a half of being sober, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready just to drink on the weekends now. And
that was that addiction doing the push-ups outside waiting for you.
I was like, I can just drink on the weekends. And for a little bit I could, but I should have known then, but I like really wasn't familiar with any of this. But I was literally so ready to start drinking again. Like that's throughout the entire time being sober, all I was thinking about is
you was a dry drunk, all you basically was.
Yeah,
because you wasn't working no recovery.
I didn't go to a single meeting.
Right, you didn't do nothing
about it.
You was just a dry drunk. But at that time you're like, I'm good. I'm sober.
And like I convinced everybody that, you know, I was just going through something, and I used alcohol to cope with it.
Right.
But like I'm over it now, and now I'm gonna go back to normal. I started drinking again, and it was just the weekends, and that lasted for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And then it was
it lasted about 3 weeks.
Yeah, just on the weekends. And then it was like, all right, well, we're gonna go out one day during the week and I can have a drink and whatever. Or like we would go and golf and I would drink that evening. But then I started working again, and one night I was like, I had a really stressful day, and it was like the first thought, like, okay, I used to like, I would have a drink after. And so I was driving home from work, and there was nothing that could have stopped me. Like I didn't want to go pick up a drink at all, but like I was already there.
Yeah.
And so I stopped at the gas station. I got one tall boy. I drank it, and I was like, I feel great.
Here we
now.
go again. I feel great. That
Yeah.
anxiety's gone.
Yeah. And so I like just had that one, and I went home and I went to bed, and it was a great night. And then like I was like, okay, I'm definitely not doing it the next day. So I didn't do it the next day, but then the next day I ended up getting 2 tall boys.
Right, because the first one made me feel good.
And I was like, how about 2?
2 will make me feel just a little bit better.
Yeah. And so yeah, then I got 2, and then it was like every single day, and I ended up getting a 6-pack, and I was like drinking on the way home in the car.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I couldn't wait to like get that drink. Like
Yeah, you're like, it's in the car now. Like I gotta get one down.
Yeah. And so yeah, I was back to every single day, and then it was like, but I was still having like fun. Like it hadn't got where it was miserable yet.
Yeah.
But then I was working at the same place, just inside because it was the winter time, but then outside open, so I was back at the bar and doing bev cart and stuff. And their alcohol is very much more accessible.
Oh yeah.
So then I started drinking at work and like taking shots with everybody. And
yeah, you're just part of the group now.
Yeah. And I like try to reassure myself that it was normal, because I was like, okay, well, these golfers come every single day and they drink, so I can drink. But like I was like, Sydney, you're at work.
Yeah.
And like these people, not saying that it's right, but they have their life together. Like they have all this money.
Right. They're rich and they're retired, and here I am, their bev girl.
Yeah. So I did that for a long time, and like drinking every single day, and I would get drunk at work, but like I could still play it off. Like I don't think anyone noticed, but I'm sure they did.
I'm sure they did. The cart's off the path.
Yeah.
You rolled it up on the green, be like, somebody needs something.
Yeah, probably.
You're not supposed to be on the green.
Yeah. And so I was still working there, but I remember one night, like we all would drink like while we were there, but no one drank like me.
Right.
And one night it was like one of our event nights, and like we had all been drinking, people were buying shots for us, whatever. And one of our managers came in, she was new, and there were like a line of shots up on the table, and she was like, who are these for? And one of the girls just straight up told her, they were like, yeah, these guys bought us shots. And we got in so much trouble. I got suspended, and I was like, okay, this is really affecting like my work.
Right.
This is affecting my day-to-day life. Like something needs to change. But they called us in to talk with us, and right after, me and this other girl, we were like, all right, let's go out. Like we just pretty much almost got fired.
But let's go get drunk.
Yeah. So we went, and
we gotta celebrate not getting fired.
Yeah. It was just crazy. But that was pretty much like how my whole summer went, like working there and drinking, and my relationship wasn't
So
good.
how old are you right at this point?
I was 22 then. Yeah, 22. And yeah, my relationship still wasn't good, and he knew how much I was drinking, but he was like the only one that would say something to me about it, which I needed to hear.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to hear.
You did not want to hear.
Yeah. And it just progressively got worse, and especially like when because that was just a summer job, whenever that ended, I was like at home and I was by myself, and I thought there was nothing other than just drinking.
So are you still in college at this time?
I was, yeah. And like,
are you still playing softball?
Okay.
Okay.
I had already quit. I guess I missed that part, but
No,
yeah,
you're
I
good.
quit. It was way too much on me, with my mental health and everything, and I was much happier after.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just kept going and going and going, and I was like doing things I just like out of character for me, very out of character. I was putting myself in bad situations. Driving, I was putting everyone else in, like multiple times, almost every single day. I shouldn't have been driving, and I did. And like now I understand how serious it is. Like I was putting everyone else's life in danger, but all I think about in addiction is myself.
Absolutely.
And like I would do anything just to go get the next drink or whatever it was. Didn't care how drunk I was. I guess, what was this, around like December. So, like, any holidays or stuff like that, all was super bad because I didn't, like, I was drinking still super heavy, but I couldn't do that in front of people.
Right.
And, it was around Christmas, and I was driving one night, had been drinking a lot, and I guess it was after Christmas. But I, like, turned my head for 1 second, and I looked in front of me, and there was a car sitting right there. And I hit him probably going about 45, 50 miles per hour. And,
Are we talking about a parked car or a car driving towards, like, a head-on collision?
no, they were at a stoplight.
Oh.
And to me, I thought it was green. It wasn't green. I guess it wasn't. I don't know. But yeah, I hit him, and I instantly got out of the car, and I'm freaking out because I had alcohol in my car, and, like, it open in my cup holder. There were, like, bottles in my back seat, like, just a mess. And I got out, and I went up to this kid's car. I didn't know it was a kid, but I got up there, and he was super young, and he was already on the phone with the cops. And I was like, I'm screwed. Like, this is it. And so I told him, like, to pull up a little bit, like, into this church parking lot. And I just remember, like, we got up there, and the first thing I was thinking is, like, I gotta hide all this stuff. And, like, I was, like, throwing it out of my car, like, into the woods, and, like, just, I was freaking out.
Right.
And they showed up, like, the cops showed up, and I was like, they're gonna know. Like, I don't know what to do. But at that point, I was, like, shaking so bad, like, stuttering my words. And yeah, they got there, and I was trying to convince them that my car was okay to drive when it, like, has steam coming out of the front.
Yeah, you done busted your radiator,
yeah,
probably.
Yeah, and I was like, I just need to, like, I need to get home. Like, I need to have a car. So then they told me, they were like, no, we're gonna have to tow it. And at this point, I was, like, just thinking, like, do they know that I'm drunk right now? Like, stupid. But then they kept asking, do I have, like, someone to come pick me up? And I knew I couldn't get my parents to come pick me up. Like, there was no shot I was letting them do that. So the cop, he was like, I told him that I lived, like, right down the street, but it was someone I dog sit for. But I knew I could go over there. Like, I knew it was a safe place. And so I told the cop, like, that was my address, and the cop dropped me off. But I was, like, in the back of the cop car, and I was like, can I hit my vape? Like, just being crazy. And I got out of the car, and, like, my bag ripped and everything. Like, it was just a mess, and I don't know how I didn't get in trouble.
Didn't get in trouble at all for it?
No.
Just for the wreck, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was it. Like, no DUI, nothing. Like,
wow.
I don't know how.
How he didn't smell it on you, at least.
Yeah. Like, I really just want to think that he was being nice.
Yeah.
Because there's no way.
Even if being in the car, he had to smell it.
Yeah. And I, like, the stupidest thing I could have done when the cop, like, I couldn't find my key fob, and the cop was in the car, like, helping me look for it. And when I hit the person, I had spilt one of the drinks, and it was, like, these little buzz balls, and you could see it all over my floorboard. And he was like, what spilt on the, or he was like, what's on the ground? Like, you spilt something. And I was gonna say a chai latte because it looked like coffee, and I said a rum chata. Whenever he asked me, and I was like, I could not think of the word, and he was like, it better not be a rum chata. And I was like, I just screwed myself. But no, he, like, totally looked past that. I don't know how. But yeah, he dropped me off at this guy's house, and I went up to the front door, and I was like, you have to let me in. My phone's dead. Like, I just totaled my car, and he let me in. I tried to explain everything that was going on, and that, like, I couldn't, but I told him, like, everything that had been going on, and I was like, you can just stay at my house. But, like, there was no, like, I needed alcohol right then.
You're like, no, I just had a wreck, and I'm nervous, and my anxiety's kicked up, and I need a drink.
And so I was, this is how crazy I was. He said that he would Uber me, but I told him my parents had this, like, rental house in Donaldson, so I gave him that address. I got there. My dad, we had, like, an extra car that was there, so my dad's Jeep was there. I took my dad's Jeep, barely had any time left to go to the liquor store. That's all I thought about. I was like, that's where I'm going. So I took his Jeep, went to the liquor store, got my fix, and then I went home, and, like, that was it. It was like nothing had happened. All I cared about was the alcohol.
Wow. So, like, at the worst of your addiction, What do you think you was drinking a day?
So I would like for sure finish a fifth of vodka.
A day?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And then I was like doing shooters, and then to like take a break from it, I would drink seltzers as well. So I mean, I was drinking.
You
like,
you was deep in addiction.
Yeah, a lot. Like I mean, it got so bad. Like I was like barely able to see. Like I was seeing double of every single thing, and it wasn't like drunk seeing double, like where I'm dizzy. Like my eyes were literally messed up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wreck was like such a big eye opener that this is way worse than I thought, and I could tell myself that a million times, but there was nothing like I thought I could do to get sober still. Yeah. Like I couldn't just stop then. So yeah, all that happened, and then so my parents like caught on to how much I was drinking at that point, and they tried to do the same thing, keep me in the house, like take away the alcohol and all that stuff, and I just was going crazy. And
at this point you was probably having the shakes.
Very bad.
Yeah.
And I was throwing up like really bad, and my parents they didn't get that part. They don't understand that part. And like I do have family members that are in recovery, but I like have family members that are addicts and alcoholics.
Yeah.
But they just have never seen it on that side. And so I kept telling them, I was like, I feel like I'm about to have a seizure, or I feel like I'm about to pass out, and I couldn't stop shaking and I couldn't stop throwing up. But they like just kept telling me, they were like, okay, just stop freaking out.
You're like, no, like this is a physical side effect of not having no alcohol.
Yeah. And
especially going from a fifth to zero.
Very fast. And it got so bad that I found bitters, like that you just put into drinks. They're like disgusting. But I found them in the cabinet, and I was like squirting them in my mouth. It did absolutely nothing, but I was trying anything. And so yeah, my parents thought that the same thing that they did last time was going to help me this time, but it was like way worse now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they say every single time is worse and worse and worse.
Right.
But yeah. So that didn't stop me still. And they honestly had no idea what to do with me. And it got like, my dad came and picked me up, and my dad was like, well, I'm going to keep you at my house. And they like took my phone, and it was just like going about it in a way that I don't think it was right. It's not what I needed. Just like everyone being super mean and yelling at me and telling me all that I did wrong.
Yeah, because nobody understands addiction.
Yeah.
That the first drink you ever had was your fault, but after that, it's a chemical dependency.
Yeah. And it was like, I do want to stop. I don't want to live like this, but I can't.
Yes.
I cannot stop. And that's just something they didn't understand. So I think the whole way that they went about it, and like I have to understand them, that they had no idea what to do.
Right.
But the way that they went about it just was not the best way.
Right. It was freaking terrible.
Yeah. And I kept telling him one night, I was like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, this is so bad. And they wouldn't take me. And I threatened to walk to the hospital. But then they were like, if you leave the house, like, we're calling the cops and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I have to get to the hospital. So I tried to lay down, and this was on New Year's Eve. So I will always remember this. I like watched the ball drop when I'm in this like terrible
withdrawal.
Yeah. And just like sitting there, and like I had plans like with people and everything. And I'm like, this is really where I'm at. Like, stuck in my parents' bed going through this. I have ruined a ton of things at this point. And yeah, so the next day, like, I made it through that night, but the next day I was like, Dad, like, nothing's getting better. Like, I have to go to the hospital. And he told me, he was like, I'll drop you off, but I'm not going in with you. And that like killed me, because I was like, can you please just understand what I'm going through? But yeah, he dropped me off. They ended up coming in, but I went to the back, and I still was lying to them. I wasn't saying like what the real problem was, that I've been drinking for like a year straight, every single day, a ton. And like, oh my gosh, I was so swollen and I looked terrible. But yeah, I went back there, and they were like running all these tests, and the guy came back, and he was like, do you drink a lot? And I was like, I mean, I drink like on the weekends, I drink heavy, but just such a liar.
Right.
And like now I know, like, I can't be honest, like, about that stuff. Like,
Right.
you're not gonna get in trouble, but I was freaked out that I was gonna get in trouble and all this stuff. But yeah, he told me, like, I have Cushing's, and so the sodium and everything, like, that totally makes a flare up, that my liver was, like, they messed up so bad. My hormones, like, I had messed all that stuff up. Just the, like, inside of me was terrible.
Yeah, so the doctor's like, no, let's be honest now.
Yeah.
I've got the results. I know what you really been doing.
Yeah. And they ended up telling me they still had they got a BAC for my blood, and it was like a 0.312, I think. And that was hours after I drank.
So you was well over a 4.
And, like, you're supposed to go to the hospital.
Yeah,
like,
you basically, you went through alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
That whole night before you went to the hospital, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, they told me my BAC was that high, and I was like, that's crazy.
like, I don't
how
even
did they
know.
get that? Yeah. And so then they ended up discharging me, like, after a few hours. They gave me fluids, everything.
To lower your...
Yeah. And I got discharged. I went home, and I still was just in this mindset, like, I want to drink. And I honestly, I don't remember how I got it, but I got more alcohol, and I was like, I mean, on top of this, I was like taking anything I could get my hands on and smoking, like, all the time. Yeah, it didn't stop, and I will never forget, my mom came up into my bedroom, and, like, at this point, they had found out, like, I was drinking again. They took everything again, but she came into my room, and she was like, you're going somewhere tomorrow. And I was like, what are you talking about? And at first, the first place they found it was like this holistic type of rehab. It's like a 2-week, like, whatever, getaway thing. And but so they didn't use medicine or anything. It was all, like, spiritual, and I was like, that sounds terrible. Like, I'm not going there.
Right.
At all. And then my mom was talking to my aunt, who's also in recovery, and she told them about the ranch and how it was, like, just a great place. She had worked with someone that works there. And so, yeah, my mom was like, all right, then you're going to the ranch tomorrow. And I was like, I wish, like, you would have just told me when it was happening, because then I, like, have all night to freak out about this and, like, know that I'm going to rehab.
Yeah, so I know I can see how drunk I can get before I go.
Yeah.
Because everybody that comes to the ranch, I mean,
yeah,
if you're going there for drugs or alcohol, you're coming in there just blitzed.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is my mom drove me there, and she was not stopping to get me alcohol. So I threw up the entire drive there. And, like, my mom packed for me every single thing. And I think, like, one of the things that hurt me the most is my little brother came in my room, and he knew where I was going, but he sat on the end of my bed, and I just broke down. And, like, because I had put my little brother saw all of it, like, me being aggressive with my parents, my mom dragging me down the stairs, knew about my wreck, just like the person. I had no idea who I was. I was just completely.
So how was your little brother at this time?
14.
Okay. Old enough to know what the hell's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, and, like,
and be like, big sis got something going on.
I was so mad at him because he found a vape in my room and he went and threw it away. I was like, the vape is the least of your worries.
Yeah, like, this vape is not even no problem considering what your sister's drinking right now.
Yeah. But yeah, so my mom drove me to the ranch. I was terrified. Yeah, I threw up the entire way there, but I had finally known, like, I don't have to do this alone anymore.
Right.
And there was such, like, because I had prayed every single night, like, I just want to wake up and not have the desire to drink. I want to wake up and I want to feel better, but I can't do this. And I didn't know how to ask for help.
Right. Because none of us do.
Yeah.
We're like, I'm the only one that's ever felt like this. I'm weird.
Yeah. And I seriously thought, I was like, no one is having it as bad as I am right now. But yeah, then I get to the ranch and I, like, start working a program and everything. And I realize that there's so much community out there in recovery. But yeah, I mean, the first couple days at the ranch were tough, very tough. I was still detoxing, and they weren't giving me, like, any medicine to detox with. and I was like on the floor, like in the bathroom, because in the detox rooms it's freezing.
Yeah, they make it cold for on purpose.
Yeah.
So, because y'all are usually burning up.
Yeah, so I would like lay on the floor, and then I would throw up, and then I would lay in the bed, and then I would have to run to the bathroom
So
and
they
throw
didn't do
up.
this Suboxone with you while you were there?
No.
I just know, being working there, that they've done that before.
Yeah, no. I mean, I guess it's just my addictive behavior. Probably
Yeah.
wasn't a good.
They were like, she's drinking a lot for her
Yeah.
for her weight. We probably don't need to introduce her to Suboxone.
Yeah, I knew everything that I picked up I would get addicted to, so I had to be very careful with everything I ever did. But yeah, I was there first couple days, terrible. I finally started going out and like talking to some of the girls, and that's when I realized like I'm not alone, and people do have it way worse than I have it. And like I'm so thankful to be here. I was still mad at my parents,
Of course,
because I was like, they just sent me off, like they
right.
couldn't handle me
They didn't even
anymore.
do an intervention. They were like, your ass is gone.
Yeah, it's like nothing. You're going to rehab.
You're going to rehab. Surprise. No,
yeah.
They heard you got that 0.3, and they're like, no, your ass is gone. your ass is going somewhere.
Yeah, and it was like honestly one of the best experiences there. I met some amazing people, and yeah, just like that feeling of not being alone. Other people get it. I'm not crazy. Like, everyone had painted me out to be crazy, and no, I'm not. I'm just struggling.
But don't it feel good once you got down there? Because of course I went to the ranch too, and I worked there. Didn't it feel good once you got there to realize it's not just you?
Yeah.
And you're like, these people, because you'll be in there with CEOs from companies, and you're like, okay, this is like a real problem for a lot of people. I'm not the only one. And that, to me, when I got to that point, like when I was in my house, I was the only one that self-harmed. So none of the guys even knew what that meant. So I was explaining it to them. But just to be in a community of guys that were like, had the same issues as me, I was like, okay, I'm not fucking weird. I'm just sick. Like, I am legitimately sick. This is like basically cancer, but you can't see what's going on because it's in my brain.
No, I felt that a lot, and it took me a while, but I realized how grateful I was to catch it at such a young age.
Absolutely.
Getting sober at 22, it was nothing that I wanted at all. Because, all my friends, friends are still in college, friends are still going out. I live in Nashville, like, how am I gonna do this? And that took me a long time to get over, but it's the greatest gift that I could have ever asked for. I ended up staying at the ranch for 55 days.
Nice.
Yeah, and I knew, I was like, I need more time. And
so when you was at the ranch, did they have the PHP program already?
Yes.
When I was there, they didn't have, you just could extend your stay. They didn't have a PHP program, but what they did was, once you got out, you could do the IOP virtual. It was called VIOP at that point.
Yeah. No, we had PHP. That was like terrible for me because I had been in this one house. I was in Deerfield for so long with all my girls, and all of a sudden they're like, Sydney, you're moving houses. And I was like, no, I'm not. I am not moving away. And I fought it so hard, and I was probably really mean. But yeah, they moved me houses with only 2 other girls. I went from how many other people? 20-something.
22s, I think, at Deerfield.
To 3 girls.
Which house was that one?
Overlook.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Away from everybody.
Yeah, up on a big hill.
Up on a big, long gravel road.
All I could see, I would like lay, and I was like just looking at cows. I'm like, what am I doing?
See, when I was at Overlook, there was actually cows that were in that part.
Yeah.
Because they had that cow grate right there. So like you'd be outside chilling, the cow would walk past you like, hey, well.
Yeah, and it's like I wasn't gonna leave. Like that driveway, I'm not going down that driveway because I'm gonna have to walk back up.
Right. You want to go walk down after? No. Because it's like, I gotta walk back up a hill for like a half a mile straight up.
Heck no. So I ended up being thankful for moving. It was like just getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. because I did get too comfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is my safe place, and you're taking me out of it.
Yeah, now that we're going to reshape you and we're going to make it where you're not feeling complacent right now.
And I mean, it ended up being fine. I complained a lot, but it was totally fine.
So if I was to go back and ask some of your BHTs, they'd tell me that you was a complainer.
I would.
That wasn't even your face just then. You was like,
I know Kat would for sure. But I mean, that was another thing. I got the flu when I was in rehab, and it was terrible. Like, I was up in Overlook by myself, freaking out because I could like barely breathe, and I had no one there.
Yeah, there ain't no doctors nowhere near that place.
Yeah, I think it was just like I wasn't good with change. I hate change, and I complained about it. I think other than that, like, I was very respectful.
Right.
But yeah, no, I definitely had a mouth on me. Some attitude, but.
So now that you got out of the ranch, how far are you in your recovery now?
I'm 17 months sober.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, I'm still doing meetings. I try to go to like 4 a week. I was going every single day, but just like with work, that's not possible and everything. Like, I need time for myself.
That's. I mean, because we both work in the recovery field now, and like you're in recovery basically every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that I don't go to as many meetings, so like I know that's something. Like tonight, once we get out of here, I'm gonna try to hit the alumni Zoom meeting, you know. But like, yeah, I understand it because I go through the same thing. Because it's like you work recovery 40 hours a week, and you're like, okay, now I gotta go work my program.
Yeah,
and you're like,
because that recovery is so different than like where we're at.
Yes.
It's like people coming in first day sober, and it's.
But does it not help your own recovery?
It absolutely does.
I tell everybody, I was like, you know, the one thing that I think has helped me stay well, you know, you still have the suicide ideation from time to time, but what's kept me from trying again or self-harming again is I see people at day one now, and I'm like,
never want to be back
right
there.
I see them and I'm like, God bless you, and that alone, seeing them is like, no, I can't do it no more. Like, I'm too old now. Like, I'm 2 years in recovery. I'm like, I don't know if I would have another relapse. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just like, I don't know if I'd want to even try to go through it again.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I've said it for a while now, but if I were to go back out, I probably wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could like humble myself enough to admit it, go back to rehab, and go through it all again.
Would you say that? Because I feel like it is. Nashville one of the best recovery spots, though. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Because they got meetings everywhere.
All the
everywhere, time. All day, all night. Celebrate recovery. Like, it's like.
Even if it's online, but like, I go to a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I can go to a meeting at 12 a.m. in the morning. So, I mean, it's all day long.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, Nashville's got probably one of the top recovery places in the country, I would say. Like, I would put Nashville up against anybody. And I think that's why a lot of people, when they leave the ranch, they stay in Nashville for extra time. And then a lot of them just wind up moving here.
Yeah.
Because it's like their safe space, you know? You don't, now you got this community. Why do I want to go back home?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't. It's
crazy, like, how many people I've met outside of, like, the ranch and, like, where I work. Just other people in recovery.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's like, I can go anywhere. Like, to any meeting. There's meetings all day.
And you wouldn't think it's that way because, I mean, Nashville's known as a party town.
Yeah.
Like, we're called Nash Vegas for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, you wouldn't think that the recovery was just as strong as Broadway, but I mean, it is. Like, you know, you get off Broadway, there's meetings all over the place. You know?
Yeah, I'm very thankful for that too. Like, from growing up here, like, I didn't want to go anywhere else, but for it to be such a good recovery community and like have that support, it saved me a ton.
So, like, if somebody was struggling right now, and they're young like you are, you might be the youngest person that's been on my show so far. So say they're young, they think they're just normally drinking, but they know better. Like, they know they're really not. What would you say to them to tell them to go ahead and take the leap now?
I would say you're not gonna miss out. You're not missing out on anything by getting sober. That it's worth it. And that I've actually found, like, true happiness in being sober. rather than thinking my happiness all revolved around getting drunk.
There you go. I like that. And for like the audience, I met Sydney at the alumni meeting very early in her recovery, and now she's part of our group text. My people, if you're watching this, it's in the group text. Y'all need to start texting better. So let's go ahead and get that out there right now. Y'all need to start texting better. We need to start keeping up better. But like, I've got to watch Sydney's pretty much her whole recovery so far, and you know, she's the first female on the show, and that's kind of done on purpose also, because like I respect where she's at in her recovery and how much she does in the recovery field, you know. And I want to thank you for coming on my show, because I know, but outside of the room, outside of the cameras, how nervous she was about doing it, and we've had to reschedule this thing like at least 3 times because of scheduling conflicts. Last week it was CMA Fest that really messed it up, you know.
Yeah.
One week I was sick, so like it's been, but I still wanted to make sure you was the first female on the show for a reason, because I respect your recovery and everything you do for your recovery. And you know, you're one of the ones that usually always at the alumni meeting. You know, like I told you when I saw you today, I was like, I was worried about you because you wasn't there last night.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, Sydney's a good inspiration for like the young girls that come into our alumni meetings. You know, she's at that point. Are you sponsoring anybody now? Or have you started sponsoring you?
I am sponsoring 2 people. We're not going to work the steps. I'm more of just an accountability partner.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like with my sponsee that hit a year, he knows he has to work the steps, but we didn't really. It was more or less, I'm talking to you every day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to call you every day the first year to make sure you're sober.
Yeah.
You know, and I think an accountability partner like that is just as well as a you know, as a sponsee, a sponsor. You know, I got told today by T-Bell, the guy that works here, I was like, I feel like I need to tell my sponsee he needs somebody else, because me and him was like, I mean, you know my sponsee. It's like we are like dad and son, and he's like, absolutely not. He said that's the way the treatment centers tell you to do it. He's like, to be a sponsor, if you don't have that relationship, that close of a relationship with them, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because during the 12 steps, if you're doing the steps right, they're supposed to get that close to you because you know everything about that person.
And the trust.
Yeah, and so like I was like, you know what? Fine, that's the way I'm going to run it. Which, you know, anybody that knows me knows I've done recovery different with clients than other people anyway. Like, I want to know everything, like, because I want you to get that shit out. But like, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Of course.
You like our new big mics?
I do.
Like, it's gonna be this. People are gonna notice this next week. Like, every week we do something a little bit different. We're trying to see if anybody catches on or not. So this week it's these big mics, and I like it. Like, I feel more professional now.
Yeah,
like,
they're nice.
I feel like I'm like the real deal now. But thank y'all for watching the show tonight, and we will see you next time on the Morning Juice. Bye.